Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to be resuming our quest to get a level importer for Descent set up in Unreal. We are working off of the Descent source code, currently just a Descent 1 source code, but after we get the basic level of importer for Descent 1 working, we'll move on to Descent 2 and Descent 3. The whole reason I've started this project is because the Descent 3 source code was recently released, which means that we can figure out a level importer without reverse engineering the level format from scratch, which is just a nightmare. Last time we got to the point where we kind of had a importer button in Unreal, but we were using the wrong file format because the Descent source code is a little bit of a mess, as is to happen in production. So I was using GameMine.c, assuming that it went with GameMine.h, because that would make sense. But as I was looking through GameMine.h, I noticed that GameLoadMine was defined, but GameLoadMine.data was not. And so after some searching, I found that there's another, let's close this one. There's another GameMine.c file named gm.c that appears to be the more up-to-date version of loading a GameMine. So we're going to try and use that instead of GameMine.c to load the GameMine, or to use as our template to load the GameMine. So kind of the way I am creating these functions, or at least creating the start of these functions, is I'm dropping them into an AI, ChatGPT in this case, but you can use any modern AI, Claude 3, ChatGPT, Gemini, Mistral, I don't know how you pronounce that one actually, but you can use any modern AI that can code, and it can help you out with this, because this is very simple kind of boilerplate level coding. So it's actually kind of the perfect use for AI is taking these big definitions and converting them into different formats. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm going to show you how I do that today. So if I go to my AI window here, I've got a whole bunch of stuff where I'm talking to the AI about. I start off by talking to the AI about. Let's go to the top. Where's my scroll bar? There we go. If we go all the way to the top of this thread, which is quite long because it contains long code segments in it, then I start out by talking to the AI about creating a level importer for Unreal 5. How exactly do I do that? And basically what I'm doing is using the AI to get me started on where I want to go for the Unreal documentation and reference. And then I'm going to go through and kind of check everything that the AI is telling me to do here, and think about what I'm trying to do, and then think about the limitations of what the AI has described to me, and ask it questions about those limitations. And it's going to try and give me solutions for those limitations. And then I'm like asking it specifics on, so you said to do this, but I'm loading binary data and I'm not seeing that in the file reader class. And goes, oh yeah, you should be using the archive class, and talks about that. And then I start giving it some code. Specifically, I'm giving it structs and functions that load the file in Descent, which is more or less C code, and it's pretty well named C code, so the AI can figure out what everything's supposed to happen, and it's going to try and convert that to UE5 code for me. Occasionally, it, well, actually all the time, it kind of assumes that it should do too much. So for example, somewhere in here, I give it a function that calls to a bunch of vector add functions in Descent. And so the AI tells me, oh, hey, you're going to have to implement all these vector add functions. And I have to tell it, no, I don't. Those are already in Unreal. Just use the Unreal ones. Those are going to be the same. And it goes, oh, okay, sure, and then fixes that for me. But it's you have to watch for that with the AI. It's almost always going to try and do too much for you, and you're going to have to tell it specifically, no, you don't have to implement that on your own. Please use the existing functions and stuff like that. So if we go back down to the, whoops, missed. Go back down to the end. Come on. All right. So I told the AI that we're going to kind of start over with the descent functions while staying on the same topic. And it's telling me it's ready to do that. So with loading only the top file info. And we're just going to paste this. This is this gets renamed inside of this, so we can just drop this right here and let the AI figure that out. And then we're going to add in the game load mine and the game load mine data function. And even though these are two massive functions, it should be able to parse these down to only what we want, and then we can ask it about other things later. Am I still in the... I need to read this and make sure I'm looking at it right. Okay, load mine data. Wow, that's huge. And it's calling a bunch of other functions too, so. All right, so we've got that all in my context window. That's probably a lot more than the 8,000 tokens that the AI can handle, but it does a very good job of vectorization, so we can, that's fine. We can go step by step on it. Great. Ooh, whoops. All right, so this .h class is very straightforward. Note it has the wrong name for everything because it's, once again, gets way too specific. I could probably fix that, but I don't need to. Just copy paste it right into my mine generated function. Very interesting. What's our error? UInt 16 is not supported by Blueprint. I don't think this is actually possible, but we'll see what it thinks. No, I. Hmm. All right, what does it think? Um, it's an interesting solution. I'm kind of actually super wary about this. Um, both of the now I'm looking at it with fresh eyes here. I'm actually super wary about just generating a body. Period. Right? I'm thinking I might not want this to be an Unreal .h file, just a standard C++.h file with standard C++ structs. Because if it's an Unreal.h file and I go size of mine file top info, well, including this function and including this body is going to change the size. So I don't think we want to make this a blueprint type. Let's see what the AI thinks about it. A lot of the time, talking to the AI actually isn't about what the AI responds with. It's about letting you think through a response to someone you're. It's a soccer ball, right? So you're having a conversation with a inanimate object. So it's your soccer ball, your rubber ducky, and it works really well for that because not only are you talking through the problem, but you're getting responses. The responses might be nonsensical, but you can immediately have your brain go, "Well, this is why that's nonsensical," and figure stuff out. So, what's our potentially causing issues in reading binary data directly. We can separate functioning of reading without exposing the struct directly to blueprint. This approach ensures the binary data does the to string I haven't had much luck with this command. If somebody knows how to make the chatbot not reauthor its entire code base and re-explain everything every time, that would be nice. Um, and we're going to remove the please, just because that should actually be less confusing to the AI. So in the future, should trigger something to be saved to memory here, like that. Yeah, it's still doing way too much. Um, oh, this is surprising to me. This is very surprising to me. So, we are going to Google that. Member function of struct C++. Do member functions in a C plus struct affect the size of struct. Cool. So it sounds like that our AI is correct. We can add member functions in the struct without touching the size of it, but we can't add Unreal decorators to the struct. Cool. Works for me. Okay, we're going to drop this in here. Oh, whoops. We're going to be replacing segment later. And yeah, interesting. Very interesting. Okay. I'm wondering if we should still name it F if it's not part of the Unreal. It was not a U struct. Let's see what our AI thinks. Does not have a UE5 decorator. Should we still use the F prefix according to UE5 naming conventions? Okay, cool. I don't have a problem with it either way, and it's not super important, so we'll trust the AI for it. Okay. All right, so let me pull this to the other screen so I can just compare things real quick. Despite my terrible naming here. Main.h. Oh. Why is it returning a string? Oh. That is not correct. So I still want to return a mine. Okay, so I've decided that my AI example here is overly simplistic, so I'm going to tell it to do some additional stuff. Where'd my prompt go? Oh, there it is. Expand this importer to the full mine eventually. Lovely. Okay. This all looks much better. Now, I very easily could have written this myself, but having the AI and me on the same page is going to make things better in the future. Particularly when we hit troubleshooting. What doesn't like about that? What are you talking about? It's right there. Are you not importing mine? You're importing mine. We will get to that in a minute. And let's go ahead and grab this. And go over here. All right. So mine data equals empty mine. File reader equals new file reader. If not file reader, we failed to open the file. How are we supposed to provide it with the file path? We'll get to that in a second. Serialize. Mine data, file info signature. Interesting that we serialized this separately. Did we serialize it separately in our original code? No. So why would we not do file reader serialize mine data sorry, been coding in PowerShell all day, so I'm used to hitting the wrong button, wrong key there. Size of fmine. So a lot of times, if you ask an AI an aggressive question, such as "Why are you doing it this way, not this way?" it will just kind of like assume you're right and not actually give you reasons why. It'll just be like, "Oh, I guess I could have done that way," and then give you. So I like asking more conversational questions, like, "What are the pros and cons to serializing the uh, Nope. Just realized I did this wrong. Where to go? Of serializing the data in 3 steps instead of using the size of our struct like right. See, this is what I want to see when I'm talking to AI. So it's talking about backwards compatibility. Um, hmm, I'm not sure I'd want to do backwards compatibility this way. Um, I'm thinking it would be better to dynamically select it would dynamically select the version of the struct we want to use based off of the version data that we get from the the thing that we just pulled in. Where to go? Right? Because there's a version right there. Um, I'm not quite sure how you would do that. That sounds like some very fancy polymorphism, maybe even code generation, which code generation I'm not a fan of. But let's ask. Have multiple versions of the struct and select the one we want to use based on the version. I was thinking more along the lines of creating a an array or creating a container each of the structs sized structs with an element size of the largest struct and a length of the maximum supported version and a number and then index into the container based on file info version. All right, so we are starting to get super low level in what we're doing, and I'm not sure that our AI is good enough at low level programming to actually get what we're doing here. One thing I've noticed that AIs tend to be really bad at is low level programming. AI is really good at doing UIs and high level stuff, but once they actually have to get into how our computer works, they tend to get really, really flaky. Because if you think about how AIs work, they don't actually understand how anything works. All they're doing is creating a best answer. It's a best answer generator. You can think of it kind of like a Stack Overflow best answer generator, right? So it knows all the stuff that is normally posted to a site like Stack Overflow, and then it generates an answer without understanding the answer based off of all the stuff, all the other answers that it knows, right? And so you sometimes get to a point where an answer requires understanding. And when you're in that level, AIs do really, really poorly. Also, using proper grammar is useful with AIs. It can usually understand improper grammar, but best avoid confusions. Serialize. only one. This actually isn't accurate, but it's going to simplify things for the AI. So mm, yeah, it just has no idea what's going on here. That's unfortunate. Okay. Okay. So, um, thinking from a high level, and I'll probably actually write this down somewhere. Um, just write it down in a new tab here because VS Code will save this for me. What we want to do is have a file with all mine versions and automatically load the we might have to have a naming convention for this. Automatically load the mine versions into a container. How do we interact with max supported version? Select mines from version. Select version struct from version in header. Mine header. Okay, and so what we're looking to do here really is make modding and future support easier, right? So basically what we want to do is have a way. So I'm probably only going to support the latest version of Mines, right? But if somebody wants to support a different version of Mines, or wants to mod in extra things in their mine, there's we might want to support loading in new versions of mines. We might want to support descent mines that load in Unreal objects or something weird like that. I don't know, right? And I want modders to be able to define future mine versions. So you could have uh, a mine version 1 that loads in that you have a mine version 1 through I think it's 16 that loads in all the standard descent stuff, but you have a mine version 18 that loads in new stuff that we've thought of recently that we want in our descent mine files. And I don't want, and I want, yeah. So basically, this is kind of thinking about modability in the future. So if we can add new versions of descent mines in the future, we can fix bugs and we can add new features to mines. I'm thinking about it now, and how do we avoid clobber, right? If you're making a new mine version and I'm making a new mine version, and we both name the mine version 17, we have a problem, right? Because how do we know which mine version to load? They're both named 17. Yeah. So this is a pretty complex process that we'd have to figure out. Yeah, I'm thinking that if you have two mods, we don't load either mod and throw an error. Two mods that have the same mine version defined, we don't load either mod and throw an error. And then as we're trying to load a mine, if we get into something where the mine does not follow the structure defined, then we also throw an error. And then kind of like our standard would be choose a random number for your mine. How many max number uint 16? Like 65,000 versions is a lot for, right? Particularly when the descent mine versions are already pretty complete. You can put a lot of stuff in there. You can put polygonal objects in there. You can put textures in there. You can put all sorts of stuff in there. And by default, we want to be able to replace all those things with modding without changing the mine version. So by default, our mine version will first, when you're loading a mine, depending on your settings, it will first look in your Unreal, like the textures folder that we distribute with this game. It will first look in there and see if you can find the appropriately named textures. And then if it can't, it will try loading the descent textures, right? If it knows where the descent files is, if you have the descent files. And in that way, we can create higher resolution textures. And we want to do that for everything. We want to do that for textures, for materials, for polygonal objects, for just everything. Effects, sprites, all sorts of stuff that we want to do that for. And there's some more complex stuff that we actually want to look into as well, where we might, instead of loading a texture, we load a whole material with displacement. Or instead of loading a texture, or instead of loading a segment, we load a procedural geometry object that is generated based off of that segment, and maybe adjacent segments. That's kind of something we want to look into in the future, but it's not here yet. Okay. Back to the beginning. I still think that this serialized in 3 elements is ridiculous, so I'm not going to do that. Where'd it go? You'll serialize in a single element, particularly for this top thing. Okay, so this is all wrong. Mine top file info. file info is equal to just an empty. And empty. So okay. All right. And then I don't have the Unreal documentation, so this is going to be faster than going and finding it. I don't have it open anyway. What are you doing? Okay. There's no clue what it's talking about still. So now we want to... Where to go? Seek 0, right? So we're really following this code here. So with this code, we have we initialize a mine file info, the mine file info struct that we'll actually initialize all this in the struct because we can do that in C++. And then we go ahead and load up memory. Okay, and then we initialize mine file info to 0. And then we where did get mine start from? What does cftell do? What does ftell do? That's a built-in C function. I'll look that up later. Okay, then we go to the top of the file and load our mine file info from load file, and we load it once. Okay, this is the size, this is the number of times we load it, this is the file we load it from, this is the place we load it to. We check its signature, we check its version, and then we go back to the start and read in the rest of it based off of the size of... That's confusing. Oh, no, that's not confusing. Because the size of this struct, we don't know how big this struct is going to be yet. Right? These are... Where is it? Actually, we kind of do. I'm a little confused as to why we do it that way. But we'll replicate it because we're looking to read in the same thing. So we seek the beginning of the file. Then we do file reader serialize and then, oops, mine data, file info dot file info size of. We're going to need to update this a little bit, but I'm going to inform the AI of the changes we've made. Okay, it's happy with that. I'm happy with that. It's time to go ahead and build this and then run it, and that's going to take us a minute. Okay, so the reason that we need to change this function a bit is I was misreading the original function. This is not mine data, it's the mine data info. And so we're going to have three structs: mine data info, and file info. File info is assumed to be the same across versions. I don't think that's the case, but there's oh, ouch. So mine version 17 is the current mine version and compatible for Descent 1, and mine version 16 is the oldest compatible version that we can load. I assume that I'm going to need different loading functions for Descent 1, 2, and 3. We'll see how that goes. And I'm actually thinking to modding. I'm not sure I want to do what I'm describing over here. Because if we're going to add something that has means a different thing than the things that are already defined, so we're going to add something that means I don't know. Say we add something that means flora and fauna specifically, right? We have to load those in a completely different way than we load everything else. They have a different, right? If we assume that we put the fauna on the floor and they are affected by gravity, like nothing else in Descent, then we have to set up a completely different nav mesh for them, and we have to set up and probably get them from a completely different, like have a completely different struct defining what they do and like what nav mesh they're assigned to and all that sort of thing. They might be workable as bots, but yeah, I'm certain that there's some situations where we don't want to utilize the same loading functions for a different struct, for a different version. And so I'm not certain how to integrate that with modding. We'll have to think that one through a bit more. What are you talking about? Okay, so it tells me it can't find this thing, but it's right there. Like, it knows it's there. If I delete this, it tells me that I'm not using this anymore. What? Whoops. Is it because this is blueprint callable? It is. I'm not sure how to do that. I'm really not sure how to do this. So, the obvious way of doing this, go ahead and delete all this, would be to duplicate this fmine blueprint and do this. Still didn't like it. This is the obvious way of fixing this. But then we have to somehow convert mine to fmine blueprint. Getting a lot of boilerplate here because of the blueprint stuff in the middle. So Unreal original our AI had a suggestion to return a string instead of a mine, like so, which works. I'm not certain I want to do that way though. Hmm. remember that didn't want to change the size of the wait a minute. I'm thinking that we need to create some sort of structure container that is blueprint compatible and holds our mine that is separate from our importing structs. So let's drop back over here. Okay, so our file info struct is not our final resting place for our data, right? We go and we get all of our, this is our starting point for loading our data. We have a mine header, I believe. Wow. What? Nope. So we've got mine header and mine editor. Whoops. Okay, we initialize mine header. If we have a mine header offset, we get the mine header. We initialize mine editor. We get the mine editor. And then we drop all of our textures into a tmap list. Okay, so what I'm thinking is that what's going to happen is we're going to have non-blueprint compatible mine file info top, maybe mine header and mine editor. Yeah, definitely mine header and mine editor. Structs. And then we're going to also have maybe a blueprint compatible temporary texture struct and temporary static mesh struct and temporary everything we need to build the thing struct and place to put all those. And instead of placing the textures directly into the struct will be creating assets. Yeah, that makes sense. I do think I want to have a blueprint compatible mine info struct. So let's go ahead and insert that into our AI here. This is going to look really silly to start with because we're just basically copying a struct around. But when we get much larger, we won't just be copying a struct around. We'll be doing a little bit of copying and then building assets. Yeah. Okay. What do we do? Yeah, this is going to be annoying. But we'll do the simple way of doing it to start with. Just like that. Pretty much. Surprised it's not yelling at me for that. What does it do on the earlier returns? Return just an empty mine info? That makes sense. This is where I really wish we had modern error handling so I could return error or okay. So is it automatically converting uint to int32? Because, so I'm concerned about the assignment operator. Because if it's not doing it smartly, we're going to lose a bit here because one of these bits will become an assigned bit. I suppose it can do it the other direction and then we don't lose anything. Yeah, okay. I think we're good. Compile that. All right. Um, I'm wondering if there's a way to do this better. What are you talking about it? I ran into this earlier. I don't remember what was wrong with it. This can go away. This can go away. The main segment should be Is this like a regenerate project files thing? Yes, it is. Um, sure didn't miss any other includes. Wow. There we go. All right. Oops. And the big reason I'm having the AI do this is it's just going to get all of our, um, it'll probably get all of our stuff right, although now I'm looking at it, it's just all in 32s. We are not converting that to string. Okay. Okay. Ooh, we don't want to do that yet. Let's go ahead and run this. We want to get this running before we start expanding things. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Right. All right. So we want to go ahead and pop the version and the size of in here. And then we want to lovely. We want to save this and head back to the designer and grab this guy and bind the text to the header string. So that when that string changes, when we set it in our graph, it will do something, or it will write to this text block. So we should be able to see, yeah, we should be able to see some things. So oh, no, not what I wanted to do. On utility widget, click here, 0, 0. Oh, something's not right. Error, invalid file signature. That's what's not right. I suppose we want to append the file signature. I will say string manip is annoying here. I wonder if there's a better... let's Google that one. Format text. Nope. Hello? I have lost my keyboard. No, I haven't. I have lost my keyboard for right click. I have... That is weird. Okay, save, close, reopen. That is super weird. Okay. Um, okay, so I assume we want to do sig, sig, or my and then /n, version, version, /n, size. Boom. Okay. Okay. Perfect. Okay. All right. So hopefully this recognizes escape characters. Okay. And this works. Let's go ahead and compile and run and click. Nope. Nope. Break. Nope. Okay. Ah, Shift Enter is how we do this. That actually makes sense. Okay. Wonderful. All right. Invalid file signature. Okay, that's all I get. So my problem here is when I get an invalid file signature, I'm pretty sure I don't get, I'm not actually seeing the file signature. Right? So I'm returning f_info, but what I actually want to do is let's drop this at the top. And we'll just do like so. And then we can return mine_info right here. We return an empty here because we didn't load anything. But here we've loaded something. And so we want to go ahead and return something that we can understand. All right. go ahead and build that. Why are you trying to tick? That's really weird. Okay. While we're waiting for that to rebuild, I want to know. That's what our signature says. That's odd that our signature is different than what we're expecting. What's that in hex? Okay, this completed. Thought it completed. There we go. All right, so now okay, our signature is not what I expected at all. All right, so let's go grab this and copy, and we want hexadecimal. Okay, we were expecting this. That's making me wonder. That's weird. Okay, so there's two options here. The first is that we have a conversion error. Whoops. Where's my utility widget? Okay, we might just switch to this, even though we know that something's wrong there. We also want to do uint 16 to int 32 conversion error C++. So I thought we aren't losing any data. Interesting. I don't know why the signature is different. We will add that as a comment. Once again, encoding too much PowerShell. Signature is different on current descent version on Steam. Signature of current Steam version. Source reference is 0x2884. And then we're just going to paste this in here. Not OX, this is 0x. There we go. So, build that. Shoot, we can't close that while it's building. So another thing we might need to do is take a look through the D2X rebirth code. So D2X DXX rebirth is source code for a modern rewrite of Descent. Well, somewhat modern. It was written in a while ago. I think Windows XP era. And so they might have some more up-to-date stuff than the Descent release source code, but I'm not certain. Okay, what went wrong here? That's concerning. That means we're looking at a different file version than the source code we've been working with. I will have to think that one over. Maybe check the D2X rebirth source code, see what I can find, because that is odd. That is very odd. So we will have to, we'll have to figure out why it's doing that. That is a large number of bytes. So I clearly have something offset. We might try pulling this into a hex editor and see what we can figure out. This into a hex editor and see what we can figure out. I know D2X Rebirth loads this correctly, so we might be able to find the correct source code in there. Yeah, we will get started on that tomorrow. For now, I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream, and yeah, hope to see you all tomorrow.